Hello, my amazing tribe. I'm excited to connect with you through this video. We extend a warm welcome to you as we discuss and analyze Dara insurgency in this video. The Dara insurgency is an ongoing conflict being waged against the Syrian government and allies by various anti-government forces in Dara Governorate as part of the ongoing Syrian civil war. Insurgent activity began in late 2018, but drastically increased the following year. Over 1,200 attacks have occurred in the year after June 2019, when the insurgency intensified. Tensions between reconciled rebels and the Syrian government would lead to heavy armed clashes between the two sides in 2020 and 2021. Moving on to the next segment, we have background. Following the 2018 offensive that brought Dara and Quneitra under control of the Syrian Arab Army, many rebels' forces in the area agreed to Russian-brokered reconciliation deals, in which they laid down their weapons against the Syrian army. The rebels also handed over their heavy weapons. Most rebels stayed behind and control various areas in the province, as well as the Al-Bulad subdistrict of the city of Dara. Those who didn't agree to the terms were sent to rebel-held areas in Idlib Governorate by bus. However, due to several factors, Dara became unstable following the conflict. Tensions arose between the Syrian government and the reconciled rebels. Conditions in the province were lackluster. Most people in Dara live below the poverty line. The poor financial situation has led to high unemployment, especially among youth. Basic services are in terrible condition, due in part to damage from fighting. Economic downturn and lack of security gave rise to crime and tribal justice, fueling the security chaos. The presence of foreign groups such as Hezbollah increased these tensions. In addition, forced conscription and arrests fueled anger against the Syrian government. Now, let's delve into the intricacies of factions and explore its various aspects. The Popular Resistance is the largest of the opposition groups in Dara. It was created in 2018, but began extensive operations in 2019. They usually carry out attacks on Syrian army positions, intelligence agencies, and former rebels and commanders working for the government. The soldiers of former rebel factions which operated with Dara are present in several towns and cities in the province, and have clashed with government forces on several occasions during military operations against their areas. The Islamic State is also present in Dara and has carried out attacks against the Syrian army. Now, let's shift our perspective and explore 2018 through a fresh lens, unlocking new perspectives. Sporadic attacks occurred in the province following its return to government control. Brace yourself for an in-depth analysis as we navigate through September and its far-reaching implications. 27 September clashes with ISIS militants take place in the town of Al-Hara in northwest Dara, the first of its kind since July. As we transition to the next segment, let's unravel the mysteries surrounding November and gain a fresh perspective. 23 November, a soldier in the Syrian army was assassinated by unknown gunmen in the town of Al-Alan. In the next portion, we'll be immersing ourselves in the realm of December and examining its broader implications. December, there is an increase in attacks on government forces and collaborators. Such actions included an attack on an army checkpoint in the eastern Kawak area and assassination of 2 reconciled commanders. Prepare yourself for an eye-opening discussion on January in the upcoming portion of this video. Clashes took place on 11 January between the Syrian army and former rebels in the town of Al-Sanamain after an attempt was made to arrest a commander of the latter. Unknown gunmen shot a person in the same town the next day. On 16 January, a former fighter was shot in Tariq el-Sad. The head of Al-Sifra township was assassinated. On 21 January, a former rebel commander's house was attacked by men with grenades and small arms. On 31 January, several explosions were heard as gunmen attacked Not Checkpoint, one of the largest checkpoints in the countryside, with shells and machine guns, causing Syrian soldiers to withdraw to rear positions. Turning our focus to February, let's explore its key elements. On 4 February, several gunmen attacked an Air Force intelligence HQ in the town of Dazle. The next day, an opposition group known as the Popular Resistance called on young men to join it in response to government recruitment campaigns, putting the authorities on high alert. On the 6th February, the Popular Resistance group carried out its first attack of the month, blowing up a checkpoint and killing at least 3 soldiers. On 14 February, the Popular Resistance assassinated a military intelligence officer in Al-Yabud. The following day, a reconciliation faction leader was assassinated. On the 16th February, between the towns of Sanamain and Kita, a bus and car were attacked, leading to the deaths of 7 soldiers. 18 February in Sanamain, the leader of the People's Committee was shot. The next day, a former rebel leader was fired upon in his car, wounding him. Gunmen tried unsuccessfully to kill the head of the Musairab municipality on the 20th. On 25 February, a former judge was assassinated in the Al-Yabuda courthouse. On the 28th, grenades were thrown at the cars of one of the godfathers in Al-Ka'ak. Brace yourself for an enlightening exploration of March as we dive into its profound implications. On 7 March, gunmen target a reconciled rebel loyal to security forces, injuring him. 2 days later, the Sanamain City Council president's car was targeted with a grenade, injuring his daughter. Threats were sent to both party officials in the province by Popular Resistance and the Southern Brigades, another group which emerged in Dara, on 10 March. The Southern Brigades had reportedly carried out an attack on the Ba'ath Party headquarters in Umwalad back in February. Demonstrations in Dar al-Balad took place after a statue of former President Hafez al-Assad was erected in the city, causing anger among the populace. They lasted several days, and demonstrations in other towns such as Tufus. Meanwhile, Popular Resistance attacked an Air Force intelligence detachment in Al-Mulaya al-Sharqiyya, killing the chief of the detachment. Multiple attacks took place on a detachment in the town of Dazle with medium weapons, and grenades took place on several different days. A relief official affiliated with reconciliation settlements was kidnapped on the 30 March. On 31 March, gunmen attacked an army checkpoint in Dar al-Balad, leading to casualties. The same day, clashes took place between the 5th Corps and members of an air intelligence checkpoint due to abuses of the latter. As we embark on the next leg of our journey, let's unpack the layers of April and examine its core elements. On the 2nd of April, gunmen opened fire on a car carrying 2 reconciled commanders in Bosra al-Haria, injuring one of them severely, while in the town of Sanamain, a grenade was thrown at a former rebel's house. Attacks took place the next day, when an IED went off in the town of Al-Suwa. The same day, a military security member was killed on the road to Krub al-Shaym. Another was targeted on the same road, with him being injured and his grandson killed. An assassination attempt on a man working with Hezbollah also took place that day. Gunmen attacked an air intelligence checkpoint west of Ka'ak on the 5th of April, and on the 6th, an air intelligence HQ in Al-Zifra town was shot at, leading for government forces to fortify their checkpoints. More attack occurred 5 days later, when a mosque preacher was assassinated in Al-Raq and the Ba'ath Party building in Dar al-Mahata, causing material damage. On April 20, the car of a Ba'ath Party official in Sanamain was damaged by gunfire. On 21 April, the Popular Resistance killed an individual in connection with air intelligence, and a former fighter was killed the next day. On April 24, Popular Resistance carried out a series of attacks on Syrian army checkpoints in the town of Sanamain and assassinated a reconciled commander in Musairab. 2 dead bodies were found on the outskirts, though they could not be identified. An attack by unknown gunmen took place in another part of the province when Doctor and his family were attacked at his home, injuring him and his family. 5 days later, Popular Resistance killed a member of air intelligence on the road to Atwan town, and a reconciled fighter on the 30th. Let's now turn our attention to May and uncover the fascinating insights it brings to the table. On 3 May, the Popular Resistance killed a reconciled fighter, and on the 9th, assassinated the commander of the Free Syrian Police in the Al-Balad neighborhood after he reconciled with the government. Further attacks continued on the 23rd, when a former fighter was assassinated in the outskirts of Muzayrib town. The same day, after the arrest of a former commander who joined the 4th Division, other reconciled fighters took over 2 checkpoints, but withdrew after the commander was released. The Popular Resistance killed a soldier of the 4th Division 3 days later in Dar al-Balad. On the 29th, a former ISIS fighter was assassinated in Tiflis, and a day later, in Jasim, 2 army soldiers were shot and injured after the molestation of 2 girls in the town. In this part of the video, we'll be delving deeper into Siege of Al-Sanamein and analyzing its key components. On the 15th of May, the government criminal security raided the home of Walid al-Zahra, leader of a rebel group active in the town, to arrest him. His brother and 2 others were taken. Clashes broke out, and 2 patrol members were killed in the clashes. Following this, the town was put under siege, and movement of people and goods was halted. Further clashes took place on May 19 as Popular Resistance carried out attacks on the security box in the town. A civilian was killed after being caught in the crossfire. The next day, reinforcements were brought to the area. On the 22nd, the Central Committee and government forces began negotiations with the government. The Central Negotiations Committee was created by reconciled rebels after the 2018 offensive to negotiate with the Syrian government. After a dignitary meeting with Russian forces, the siege of the town was finally lifted on the 23rd. Get ready to immerse yourself in the world of June as we examine its impact and relevance. Popular Resistance intensified its attacks on government forces and supposed collaborators. The Ba'ath Party building in Walid village was attacked. Popular Resistance shot a former al-Sham commander near Saham al-Golan. In the town of Noah, Popular Resistance assassinated Khalid Abu Raqba in front of his house. He was a member of the Central Negotiations Committee and had joined Air Intelligence. A soldier was also killed by unknown gunmen in Tiflis. Popular Resistance assassinated Abu Almet, who was part of an Iranian-affiliated office promoting Shiism. A Shia Muslim living in Tiflis was killed by known gunmen. During the night of June 12, Popular Resistance attacked an air intelligence checkpoint on the road between Not and Busra al-Harar, killing or injuring all the soldiers. In the Quneitra countryside, a former commander who joined government forces was killed and his brother injured following an attack. More attacks by Popular Resistance and other groups took place in Dazel, Jasim, Noah, and Al-Hirak. Get ready to uncover the mysteries surrounding July as we navigate its intriguing terrain. On the 3rd of July, the first insurgent attack of the month occurred when a soldier of the 4th Division was killed. 2 days later, an air intelligence checkpoint in Walid village was attacked, leading to casualties, and 2 members of air intelligence who were formerly fighters were found dead in the outskirts of Al-Shamari. Following more assassinations, a Russian patrol was attacked with an IED. More assassinations and attacks on checkpoints occurred in Muqta of Al-Yaduda, Noah, and other towns. Popular Resistance attacked the 4th Division's Azazan camp with rockets and machine guns, leading to injuries. Another bombing took place on the 17th of July, when an IED blew up a military bus traveling between Al-Dayya neighborhood and Al-Yaduda town, killing and injuring multiple soldiers. The same day near Sheikh Sod, gunmen opened fire on a car, killing a colonel along with his wife and son. A lieutenant and member of the 5th Corps would be targeted in the coming days. On July 27, a suicide bomber detonated a booby-trapped car at an air intelligence checkpoint between Al-Harak City and Mulaya al-Tash, killing 6 soldiers. The same day, hours later, the head of the Ba'ath Party branch in Jasim was assassinated. Over the next 3 days, several attacks were carried out against checkpoints in Al-Sanamein, between Al-Jibayya and Gada al-Bustan. Now, we shift our focus to August, a topic that deserves our attention. Attacks against the Syrian army continued. Clashes took place for hours in the northern areas of Al-Sanamein in the 2nd of August between the Syrian army and gunmen in the north of the city. A number of attacks took place on the 8th of August. Popular resistance attacked a military checkpoint in the town of Tarsal. 2 reconciled rebels in the 4th Division were assassinated in Dar al-Balad, and a member of the Republican Guard was assassinated in the town of Tel Shihab. Another Republican Guard member was assassinated 2 days later. A RPG attack in Tafas left several members of a family injured. On the 11th, soldiers on the road to the Jassam hospital were the target of an IED attack, with several injuries reported. In addition, a border guard was killed and another injured when they were attacked by gunmen near Nasib town. The next day, a soldier was assassinated in Sheikh Sod. The next attack took place 4 days later, when 2 4th Division soldiers were killed in the town of No. On the 17th, an Ayman who reportedly was a government agent was assassinated in the town of Alam. The municipality chairman of Al-Shaira was targeted 2 days later, leaving him seriously injured. It was reported that the Syrian army reinforced positions and threatened to storm the town of Tafas, blaming the rebels there for the security escalations in the province. Discussions took place between a former opposition commander in the town and the intelligence services. On the 20th, a man working with the security agencies was killed in Naish. A man working closely with Hezbollah was killed on the 23rd. On the 24th, the chief of the local council in the town of Muzarib was killed. Unidentified men kidnapped a photographer of a pro-government agency. He was found later with bruises. On the 28th, a 4th Division soldier was killed in Al-Yaduda. On the same day, gunmen carried out an attack on a military checkpoint south of Inkhill, injuring 2 soldiers. On the 29th, a person collaborating with the government in the reconciliation area of Nab al-Fawr village was killed. The same day, 3 police officers in the town of Marsakin Jalin were killed after gunmen opened fire on their car. On August 31, a minibus belonging to Air Intelligence was blown up with an IED on the road between western Algeria and eastern Karak in the eastern countryside, injuring over security officers. Brace yourself for an in-depth analysis as we navigate through September and its far-reaching implications. On the 1st, gunmen opened fire on the head of the Al-Shajar municipality, but failed to injure him. He was known for his strong ties to the security agencies and Iranian groups and had been targeted before. On the 3rd of September, unknown gunmen shot and seriously injured a former ISIS fighter working with Air Intelligence and Branch 215 in front of his home in Noah. On the 4th of September, an ex-rebel working in military security was assassinated in the town of Batna in the Quneitra countryside. The same day, an IED was detonated in Zayzoun camp, where units of the 4th Division were positioned, injuring a colonel and 4 soldiers. On the 9th of September, it was announced that the head of the Air Intelligence branch in Dara died in his home under mysterious circumstances. On the 12th, a former opposition leader and reconciliation icon was targeted with an IED, but his condition was unknown. Gunmen carried out an attack in the town of Dazel, killing a member of the command of the Ba'ath Party's Yarmouk branch. On the 17th, unknown gunmen assassinated a Hezbollah fighter and his brother in the town of Al-Harak. A bus was blown up in the Al-Meftra area, and 2 men died from their injuries days later. The next day, a soldier in the 5th Corps was assassinated in Dar al-Balad. On the 19th, gunmen seriously injured someone working with government security services near Al-Amol Hospital in Jassam. On the 20th, gunmen attacked a pro-government militia in Sanamein, killing an ex-rebel, and an IED blew up a convoy of the 52nd Brigade travelling between Al-Dara and Skaker. On the 22nd of September, an IED blew up a car travelling between Isra and Bosra al-Harir, injuring a colonel of the 5th Division. The next day a security agent was shot in the northern countryside of Dara and died later of his injuries. On the 24th, a man working with the security agencies was assassinated in Tel Shihab. and an IED blew up in front of a house in Dar al-Balad. On the 25th September, clashes took place for hours when gunmen attacked the military headquarters of the NDF and military security in Sana'a. One soldier was killed and several others were injured before the attackers fled. The same day, the Maktab al-Mulaya al-Sharqiyya, known to work with intelligence agencies, was killed in front of his home by unknown gunmen. Unidentified gunmen assassinated a citizen in the Al-Jamziyya neighborhood of Sana'a over personal problems. In Tiflis, an ex-rebel who joined air intelligence was assassinated on the 28th. On the 30th of September, 2 gunmen opened fire on a citizen and injured them seriously in the town of Abta. An ex-rebel commander who became a commander in the 5th Corps was seriously injured in the Yarmouk Basin near Sahm al-Golan, and a rocket launched by government forces to the south of Dar City landed in a neighborhood of Dar al-Balad. In this part of the video, we'll be delving deeper into October and analyzing its key components. On 1 October, gunmen attacked a house in the Yarmouk Basin, damaging it. An air intelligence officer was assassinated in Dar al-Balad. On the 2nd, a recruiter for Hezbollah was found dead in Dar al-Balad. An informant working for the government was targeted in the town of Saja on 4 October and injured in the attack. A soldier of the Syrian Army Reserves was found dead near Bosra al-Haria the same day. 3 attacks took place on the 6th. An ex-commander was assassinated on the road between Al-Taiba and Kahal, and a member of a municipality was injured after being shot in Not. 2 soldiers of the 4th Division were assassinated in Tel Shihab. Another municipality member was injured on the 7th of October in the town of Al-Yadud. On the 11th, unknown rebels targeted a Russian military patrol with an IED on the road between Jassim and Inkhil, causing injuries among the Russian police. A Syrian lieutenant officer escorting the Russian police column died from his injuries days later. Another bomb went off on the same road targeting a car carrying government forces, injuring several of them. 3 ex-rebels who joined military security were assassinated in the town of Tiflis. On the 12th, an ex-rebel who joined government forces was found dead near the town of Tol San. As we transition, let's shed light on November and its relevance to our ongoing exploration. On November 5, a member of the Russian-backed 5 Corps was killed by an unknown attacker. On November 5, a former fighter of the Free Army that struck reconciliation with the Syrian army was kidnapped then killed by unknown gunmen. Also on the 5th, an informant for Hezbollah was killed by 2 unidentified gunmen on a motorcycle. On November 7, a reconciled rebel fighter was assassinated by unknown gunmen. On November 8, an IED exploded in the town of Tarsal near a former rebel leader's house. The explosion killed 1 unidentified person. A drug dealer was also assassinated by unknown gunmen in the town of Al-Mzayab on the 8th. On November 11, a body of a civilian was dumped near a government checkpoint in village of Kita. On the 12th, fighters from the group Popular Resistance in Dara attacked a checkpoint of the military intelligence, killing 3 and injuring an unknown number of others. On November 12, small-scale protest against Hezbollah occurred in the towns of Tol Shehab, Al-Ajomi and Zayzan. An assassination attempt failed in the city of Inkhil. On the 15th, more protest occurred in the towns of Al-Balad and Sahm al-Golan. On November 16, a series of attacks took place. 2 houses belonging to members of the military intelligence were targeted with hooks. No one was injured. A security checkpoint near Al-Saw was also hit with hooks, injuring 1 person. Clashes broke out in the town of Al-Hera between the Popular Resistance and military force. An unknown number of people were injured in the clashes. On the 17th, the body of a woman was found in the town of Al-Sahari. On the 18th, 3 young men were injured in the city of Al-Sanaman by unknown gunmen. A child was killed by gunfire on the road between Al-Sanamain and Al-Kenai on the 19th. Also on the 19th, a member of collaborator of Hezbollah was killed. On the 20th, a drug smuggler was killed by unknown gunmen. On the 23rd, 2 members of the Special Forces were killed by unknown gunmen on the road between Tiflis and Al-Yaduda. Also of the 23rd, protest broke out in the city of Noah. Two attacks took place on the 25th. A civilian was killed after being kidnapped, and a reconciled rebel fighter was killed by unknown gunmen. 3 incidents took place on the 27th. Protests started in the town of Al-Shadra. A former rebel leader was killed in Tiflis, and a lieutenant of the NDF was killed by unknown gunmen. On the 29th, 2 brothers that struck reconciliation were killed, and thousands of people protest across Dara province against the government. Moving ahead, let's uncover the hidden gems within December and discover their significance. On December 1, unknown gunmen robbed a food aid compound belonging to the Syrian Red Crescent. On the 2nd, multiple events happened. A former commander of the rebels survived an assassination attempt on his life. Gunmen robbed a jewelry store in Dar City. A member of the military security intelligence branch was assassinated in Al Sanamain City. An IED killed a person in Jassim City. A member of the military was killed when their checkpoint was ambushed in Al Sanamain City, and a member of the 5th Corps was seriously injured in an attack in Al Jiza town. On the 3rd, protests against government broke out in the town of Hait. On the 4th, an IED targeting an officer in the military went off, injuring him seriously. On December 5, a collaborator with the government was assassinated in the town of Al-Msifra. On the 6th, armed gunmen attacked a checkpoint of the military, killing 1 member and injuring others. On the 7th, unknown gunmen armed with machine guns attacked a building of criminal security in Al Sanamain City. A firefight then broke out between soldiers stationed inside and the gunmen. An unknown number of people were injured or killed. On the 8th, a collaborator with Hezbollah was assassinated by unknown gunmen. On the 9th, gunmen attacked the checkpoint of the Air Force intelligence in Al-Qarak al-Shaki town. An unknown of people were killed or injured, and a collaborator with the state security was assassinated in Jassim City. On the 10th, the head of Al-Shajar municipality and a collaborator with the government was killed between Isra and Al-Harak. Both were assassinated by unknown gunmen. On the 12th, a former member of the rebels was assassinated in the town of Tiflis. On December 13, an attack on Syrian military forces by unidentified attacker using light and medium weapons as well as rocks. An unknown number of people were injured. On the 14th, an IED targeted a military vehicle of the 52nd Brigade between Nama and Al-Shura, leaving many injured. On the 15th, a civilian was assassinated by unknown gunmen on the road between Not and Bossa al-Haria. Protests also broke out in Nafa town on the 15th. On December 16, an unidentified man was found dead at Man town. On the 19th, a car was destroyed with an IED Jassim City, but no one was injured or killed. On the 20th, protest against the government took place in the town of Al-Yodada. On the 21st, 2 members of the 4th Division were assassinated by unknown gunmen on the road between Jassim and Salman. On the 22nd, a major attack took place. 5 soldiers of the 4th Division were killed by unidentified gunmen in an attack on their checkpoint in Sadsaham al-Golan. Another person was killed by unidentified gunmen in Bossa al-Haria town, and an unsuccessful assassination attempt on a member of the political security took place in Al Sanamain City, injuring him. A captain in Bossa al-Haria town was killed on the 22nd. Total 7 people were killed on the 22nd. On the 23rd, protests against the government took place in Tiflis. On December 24, multiple events took place. Members of the military raided multiple houses in Seda and Algeria al-Sharqiya. They arrested multiple people and looted the buildings. An IED killed a former commander of the Shabab al-Sunnah rebel faction in Dar City. A former commander of the Al-Amari gathering rebel faction was arrested by Hezbollah, and 2 officers of the government were kidnapped in the town of Yadud. On the 26th, an IED damaged a bus belonging to the military on the road between Noah City and Tarsal town, injuring many. On the 27th, protest against the government actions in Idlib took place in the town of Nota. On the 28th, the body of a person from Tol Shahab town was found Nasib town. On the 29th, unknown gunmen opened fire from a vehicle at a group of civilians in Al Sanamain City, injuring 3. On the 30th, an IED targeting a government post killed one government soldier and injured 3 more. Let's now enter the realm of January and discover the fascinating stories it has to tell. On the 1st, a machine gun attack took place, grenade was thrown at a checkpoint, and the municipality building of Mesika town was burned down. On the 2nd, a Syrian reserve soldier was killed by unidentified gunmen on motorcycles. On the 3rd, an IED attack targeting a former rebel commander took place in Al-Balad, causing only material damage. A former rebel fighter was injured by unknown gunmen. Unknown gunmen attacked the military headquarters in Al-Harak city, and a man was found dead on Kabit Al-Ghazali Road. On the 4th, unknown gunmen attacked the Tifus military barracks and a civilian was injured in a machine gun attack in the town of Tol-Shahab. On the 6th, a drug dealer in the 4th Division was assassinated in Al-Muzayrib town. On the 8th, the commander of the 9th Division was attacked in his car at Chbob village, injuring his driver. On the 9th, a former commander in Shabab al-Sunna rebel group executed 3 young men in Dar city. On the 10th, unknown gunmen attacked 2 checkpoints in Sifra and eastern Algeria, killing 3 and injuring 5. An assassination also took place in a Murayya village, killing 1. On the 12th, 2 IEDs went off in Tifus city, injuring 1 civilian and destroying a vehicle. On the 13th, an unsuccessful assassination attempt took place in Algeria Al-Sharqiya town, leaving no one injured, but a successful assassination took place in Al-Maythan town, killing 1 military security member. On the 15th, a collaborator with Hezbollah was assassinated in Tarsal town. On the 19th, members of the 5th Corps attacked the Air Force Intelligence Headquarters in Dazel town. Several soldiers were injured. 2 members of the Air Force Intelligence were assassinated in Jussan town, and a doctor was killed in Bossa al-Haria town by an IED. 3 attacks took place. On the 21st, the driver of a member of People's Council of Syria was assassinated on the road of Nimr Jassam. A child was shot and killed in Jassam city, and unknown gunmen attacked Al-Sauk checkpoint in Al-Sanamain city with hooks and machine guns. On the 22nd, 2 soldiers were abducted in Al-Harak. On the 24th, protests took place in Al-Harak town and gunmen attacked a checkpoint of the Air Force Intelligence between Tarsal and Adawan, causing no casualties. On the 25th, clashes between gunmen and police in the town of Abta injured many, and a checkpoint belonging to the 112th Brigade was attacked in Koya town. On the 26th, a Jordanian civilian was found dead in Al-Harak city after being kidnapped. On the 28th, gunmen attacked the house of a commander in the 5th Corps in Sada town, and an IED destroyed a vehicle in the town of Dazel. On the 29th, unknown gunmen attacked a group of the 4th Division soldiers in the town of Saham al-Golan. On the 30th, the vehicle of the 4th Division was destroyed with an IED in Al-Yodawa town. A member of the state security was injured by gunfire in Jussan town, and clashes between the 4th Division and the civilians of Al-Sanaman took place after a member of the 4th Division shot a young man. On the 31st, a checkpoint was attacked in Al-Karak al-Sharqi. A military security member was attacked with an IED, and in Algeria Al-Sharqiya town gunmen opened fire on the mayor of the town's house. None of these events caused any casualties. Let's now zoom in on February and uncover the hidden gems that lie within. 3 assassinations took place on 2 February. A doctor and another civilian were killed in Tifus, while an ex-rebel was killed in the town of Al-Shajar. On the 3rd, an ex-rebel was assassinated in Dar al-Balad, while unknown gunmen attempted to assassinate a farmer in Muzayrib. On 4 February, a soldier of the 4th Division was assassinated in the Al-Ri area, between Yobaud and Muzayrib. The same day, a civilian was assassinated by unknown gunmen in Muzayrib, while gunmen in Sanamain attacked a pro-government fighter by shooting into his home. On the 7th, a soldier was shot in Yobaud town, with a civilian and child killed by stray bullets. On the 9th, a young man was found with his neck broken behind his house in Sanamain, while a soldier of the 4th Division was found dead in Al-Shazri area. In the upcoming section, we'll be shining a light on March. Heavy fighting broke out on March 1 after the start of a government security operation against FSA insurgent cells in Al Sanamein and other areas in the Dara Governorate. Government forces stormed Al Sanamein with tanks and artillery support. 7 rebels were killed, including the local insurgent commander Walid al-Zahra. The assault on the town prompted insurgents in the rest of Dara to launch attacks on government positions throughout the governorate, killing around 4 soldiers. 7 civilians were killed in the government bombardment and subsequent clashes. After Russian mediation ended the fighting on March 3, 80 rebels handed in their weapons and settled their status. 25 were evacuated to Tufus, and 21 were evacuated to Al-Bab. In turn, 52 soldiers captured by rebels were released. In this section, we'll be exploring January-March. On 13 January, there were clashes in Tufus in the western Dara countryside between the rival Zawi and Kiwan clans, leading to the deaths of 4 people from both sides. On 23 January, Government 4th Division fighters launched a new offensive in the western countryside of Dara, targeting the towns of Tufus, Musayrab and Al-Yadua. On 24 January, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights (SOHR) reported that negotiations broke down between pro-government forces and rebel factions, in particular Fayya al-Islam and the Central Committee, resulting in clashes in the cities of Tufus and Musayrab. Several rebel fighters were killed and at least 4 members of the 4th Division were confirmed to have died, according to the Syrian Observatory. Rebels attacked 4th Armoured Division checkpoints north of Saham al-Yawan in the Dara countryside and on Manafia al-Shajar Road in the Yarmouk Basin. On 1 March, the SOHR reported that 1 Syrian government soldier was killed and 2 were wounded after an armed attack on an Air Force intelligence outpost in the eastern Dara countryside. On 9 March, the SOHR reported the death of a Syrian Army lieutenant of the 4th Division after he was targeted by unknown gunmen in the western Dara country. 3 Syrian Army soldiers were killed and at least 10 were wounded after clashes erupted on the Idlib front, after militants began to heavily shell Syrian Army positions, according to SOHR. On 18 March, hundreds gathered in the city of Dara to mark the 10th anniversary of the beginning of the civil war that started as the anti-government demonstrations. Protesters chanted slogans against the government of President Bashar al-Assad. On 19 March, 2 Syrian government soldiers were killed by unknown gunmen in the center of Dara city. On 29 March, the SOHR reported the deaths of 2 brothers, both members of the SOS 4th Division, after gunmen targeted them on the road to Al-Ajami in the western countryside of Dara. Brace yourself for an enlightening exploration of April-June as we dive into its profound implications. On 12 April, the SOHR reported that a member of the Syrian Army's 4th Division was shot and killed by unknown gunmen in the town of Al-Musayrib in the western countryside of Dara. On 22 April, according to SOHR, a Syrian Air Force intelligence lieutenant was shot dead in the city of Dale, Dara. 2 members of the 4th Division were also shot dead by gunmen on a motorcycle on the road between Al-Musayrib and Tel Shehab. On 24 April, the SOHR reported that a Syrian Air Force intelligence member was killed and another was wounded after they were targeted by gunmen in the Al-Sahor area of the eastern countryside of Dara. On 9 May, SOHR reported a member of the Syrian 4th Division was shot dead by unidentified gunmen in the town of Tel Shehab, near the Syrian-Jordanian border, west of Dara. On 15 May, SOHR reported 3 government soldiers of the 112th Army Brigade were killed and 2 others were wounded after unknown gunmen targeted their vehicle in the town of Ain Zikr, Dara province. On 19 May, a reconciled rebel who joined the 4th Division was shot dead by unidentified gunmen near the town of Tarsal, western Dara. On June 16, according to the SOHR, 2 government soldiers were killed and 2 others were wounded after they stepped on a landmine near Da'eda's town in northern Dara. On June 21, according to the SOHR, an insane man was shot dead by Syrian soldiers near a checkpoint in eastern Dara. Let's now turn our attention to July-September and uncover the fascinating insights it brings to the table. On 4 July, the SOHR reported that a member of the Syrian Army's 5th Corps was shot dead and another was wounded by unknown gunmen in Ankara City, Dara. On 7 July, according to SOHR, at least 4 government soldiers, including a first lieutenant, were killed by an IED explosion near Nufur village in the western countryside of Dara. At the end of July 2021, government forces started a siege on Dara, which led to clashes breaking out across the western part of the Dara governorate. On the same day, the Syrian military launched a major attack on Dara, killing at least 6 people. The offensive intensified the following day. After heavy shelling, the rebels agreed to a truce on September 1, allowing Russian military police and Syrian state security to enter the Dara al-Balad neighborhood. As the agreement was reached, the Russian military police were deployed in the city, according to the Arab News. According to the ceasefire deal, none of the residents would be ejected from the area, while the pro-government forces, including its military security branch, would be based at 4 places in the region. Some clashes took place soon thereafter, with the Russians threatening the insurgents to take part in a full SA offensive if there were further problems. On September 6, a final truce was agreed on, with several government checkpoints being established inside Dara al-Balad. On 5 September, SOHR reported that 2 members of the Syrian Army's intelligence service had been assassinated in Dazel City, Dara province. Following this deal, several other towns in the western Dara countryside that had no SAA presence acquiesced to government demands, with Syrian state security and Russian military police entering the rest of western Dara throughout September. On 29 September, SOHR reported that a local leader of the 4th Division was shot dead by gunmen in Taysil town, west of Dara. In the next portion, we'll be immersing ourselves in the realm of October-December and examining its broader implications. On 6 October, 2 SA lieutenants were killed by unknown gunmen in Dara province. By October 9, villages from eastern Dara began signing agreements with the government, with state forces entering the towns and conducting combing operations. On October 16, per SOHR, a member of the Syrian Army's 5th Corps was killed and another was injured after unknown gunmen opened fire on their positions in Sadr town in the eastern countryside of Dara. On 2 November, the SOHR reported that a member of the Syrian Army's 4th Division was shot dead by unknown gunmen in the western countryside of Dara. On 7 November, 5 government soldiers were killed in a series of separate attacks by insurgent gunmen in the province of Dara, according to SOHR. On 9 November, a reconciled rebel who had been working with Syrian military intelligence was shot dead by unknown gunmen in Al-Sana main city, Dara. On 13 November, according to SOHR, a member of the Ba'ath Party, 2 members of Syrian military security and a child were killed in an attack by unknown gunmen in Al-Sana main city, Dara. On 17 November, per SOHR, a first lieutenant of the Syrian Arab Army was shot dead by unknown gunmen on the road between Dazel City and Abta town in the countryside of Dara. On 24 November, 4 reconciled rebels were killed during a clash with government forces as they were besieged in their farmhouses near the town of Nota Shakia for not complying with the government rebel agreements in Dara. Share this video with your friends and spread the knowledge.